Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio. This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is Motorsport Radio, the final Superbike show of the season in 2023. My name is Lester. We've got Jay King stuffing his face with pudding, and we've got, the usual faces as well. Lewis Ray back from his month away doing all sorts of things in Birmingham, and he's just got back from El Spain as well. So we'll be talking about MotoGP, all the latest news and news from the tests as well in World Superbikes and MotoGP, and finding out how well everybody did. Also latest news in BSB as well, plus the very latest, if you've not been keeping up to date on all the other stuff as well, big news regarding the Young Brits. British talent team has been launched. We'll be giving you the updates on that and the our thoughts as well. But let us know what you think on tonight's show, because we are live this evening on this live Tuesday night here on Motorsport Radio. It's the Superbike show, and we are back for one final time, I suppose. So hello, good evening, Lewis. How are you?
I'm not bad, Lester. How are you?
I'm all right. How was Spain?
Surprisingly warm for the end of November, to be honest. The test itself was pretty chilly. It was pretty windy on the test, but overall it was warmer than what I was expecting. I mean, the actual MotoGP side of things was great, but the hotel side of things could have been a lot better. I feel like I got very ripped off for the money I paid.
Oh, wow. Well, you were out there for a full week, so... Yeah, you can tell us your top consumer advice then on where not to go in. Where was you exactly? Where did you get?
It was in the middle of Spain. It was General Rooms or something like that it was called. I left a lovely review on booking.com anyway, so...
Oh, well, you got to be one of those Brits who go around taking pictures of, like, cockroach and everything and be like... and then complain in the national newspapers like, I booked this hotel for 3 weeks for £2 and look at the state of it. It's outrageous. Anyway, that aside, did you have fun? You were there for MotoGP and the test as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My grandstand was on the exit of turn 1 and between turn 1 and 2 at Valencia. I could see pretty much most of the track, like last year as well. And it was great seeing Marc Marquez on the Ducati and Pedro Acosta making his debut in MotoGP as well. So it was a really good weekend. I didn't have to wear a jumper for too long while I was at the circuit, so I was pretty happy.
Well, that's very good. And Jay King back on the show once again, and just finished his dinner. He's just woken up. Basically. So good to see you. It feels like a while since we've done this, but tonight we're going to rip apart the entire season in MotoGP and BSB as well, and bring you all the latest news. And yes, we will be talking about the Superstock Championship as well. So you can get your comments in. That we might we've had enough comments flooding actually, so I'll try and pick out any that doesn't include swearing in them, and I'll read those two comments out. So anyway.
I just want to know, does Stuart Higgs go around Dan Linfoot's house, knock on his door and say, could you back please? Is that what happens in this situation?
I don't think anyone would be welcome at Dan Linfoot's house at the moment. I don't know.
At the moment, yeah.
He's not yet said anything about it online, that I can see online anyway, which is probably for the best. Anyway, so also joining us tonight as well, he's a returning champion to the show, Motorsport Radio's previous presenter and commentator, Liam Hodgins, joins us on the Superbike show this evening. Good evening, Liam. How are you?
Good evening, Lester. How are you guys?
I'm all right.
Good to be back.
How are you? You're looking very glamorous and rock starry and very Bon Jovi-esque.
I mean, that's the look I've always been trying to go for. So finally, after a year and a half of trying, got the look. Okay, the 1985 John Bon Jovi look wasn't quite the best one, but I'll take it for now.
I'll take your word on that one. Liam Hodgins, if you're not aware, presented this very show in 2019, and then he got a better job over at Dorna, working for MotoGP. So we'll be grilling him about what life is like living and working in Spain, working for MotoGP and Dorna, and what he gets up to, and just how good is life at the moment. Surely it can't all be as good as he makes out. I don't know, but we'll ask him about it. If you've got any questions about MotoGP, what it's like, Liam works on the social media side of things. What exactly do you do there, Liam?
That's a great question. I don't even know half the time what I'm doing.
A social media executive, he is.
That's a funny thing. My contract is when I picked it up back in January 2020. It said digital executive. I was like, is this right? How much am I getting paid for this? But no, it was just all wrong. So just a little social media video editor. That's all I am, really.
Yeah, just for a world championship. Don't worry about it. And you get to hang out with Danny Pedrosa and. You know,
I mean, the funny thing is, since the Spanish sports broadcaster DAZN is broadcast from Dorna's HQ, you sometimes see Danny Pedrosa and Jorge Lorenzo just sitting in the canteen munching on a bocadillo. Just normal guys, just sitting there chatting away to people. It's good fun. I've even seen Jorge Lorenzo ask one of his colleagues for £2 so he can get back something from the vending machine. So it's not so glamorous in the world of a 5-time MotoGP world champion.
Bloody scrounger, yes.
Yeah, must be struggling.
Yeah.
Hard times.
So anyway, yes, if you've got any questions for Liam Hodgins this evening, and we've got loads of questions for you, Liam, but we'll interrogate you in parts, I suppose, because we also want to get your opinions and views on things as well, including, but not limited to, MotoGP. And of course, you're going to say everything's wildly brilliant and amazing, and you don't have any criticism of anything at all, obviously, which is where we come in. But you can give your views on BSB as well, because we're talking, as I said earlier, about BSB later on. So anyway, just to recap some of the main headlines then. Lewis, you've been keeping on top of things. What's been going on?
Yeah, well, it's been a little while since we last did one of these shows, but since then, there's been quite a lot in the world of motorcycle racing. And, well, just today, Trackhouse Racing, the NASCAR team, have announced that they'll be entering MotoGP next year and taking over the 2 RNF Aprilia seats. Pretty exciting. Hopefully, we can build American audiences with an addition to an American team in the Premier class. But in lower classes, Michael Laverty, Michael Laverty's teamed up with Dorna and has announced a 4-bike British talent team in the Junior GP and the European Talent Cup, with Johnny Garness making his return. He'll be alongside Emmanuel Brinton in the European Talent Cup class, while in Junior GP, it's going to be Eddie O'Shea and the 2023 British Talent Cup champion, Evan Belford. So exciting times ahead for British riders, and exciting route to MotoGP now. But as we hinted on as well, Dan Linfoot in the past couple of days, in the past week, he's been stripped of his Pirelli National Superstock 1000 title, which now means Richard Kerr, he's been crowned champion with the AMD Motorsports team. So fireworks is kicking off on social media. And since we didn't do a show last week, sadly, but the MotoGP test, it's finished, and we got to see Marc Marquez on the Ducati for the first time, Pedro Acosta on the gas, and we'll be discussing the test in full, who is the most impressive from that. And as well, there was 2 changes of seats as well, with Fabio Di Giannantonio announcing that he's going to sign for the VR46 Ducati team, Luca Marini signing for Honda. And it's plenty of news throughout the week, and not to mention the 2023 British Superbike champion Tommy Bridewell switching to Honda.
Yeah, it's something that we were expecting. It's not a surprise. He even did say on an interview that you can go back and check out on Motorsport Radio Facebook channel with Tommy Bridewell. You were speaking to him, Lewis, and you basically put it to him, you kind of going to Honda, aren't you? And he's like, oh, well, we've got loads of options at the moment. Yeah, Honda. It's one of them. Everyone knew he was going to Honda. It wasn't a big shock. And when he announced it, everyone was like, yeah, okay. Fair enough. Anyway, apparently Glenn Irwin is, there's rumours tonight that he's close to announcing the one team that he said he's talking to. He said he's already done a deal with PBM, but he's someone suggested on Facebook tonight, I'm trying to find the comment, that he's close to confirming that, which would be a great step forward for the team, who are apparently going through legal changeover, legal stuff. I'm not a lawyer, I don't know about probate, is that the word for it, I think. So yeah, and we will get on to talking about the Superstock Championship later, only because it's going to get a bit spicy, I suspect. So we'll leave that for now. Anyway, so yeah, biggest news. Actually, you mentioned there. Actually, yesterday's big news of the British talent team being announced. That was of Eddie O'Shea, Evan Belford, Emmanuel Brinton, and there is a space that's been opened for Johnny Garness. They've saved him a bike, as I understand it, according to his dad. It's not yet 100% definitely guaranteed that he will be racing come the first round of the season. It all depends on how well he progresses with his recovery. So fingers crossed, Johnny Garness, that's and we've said this before on the show, do not rush back, don't rush anything, only come back when you're ready, and fingers crossed he is ready. But they have saved him a space and a bike in that team, ready to race only when he's ready, which suggests to me, guys, that potentially someone could warm the seat up for him if he's not ready for the first round. And I suggested on the last show that we did, Sullivan Mounsey might be one of them people. Just putting it out there, just saying. No, everyone's staying tight-lipped on that one.
Yeah. I think we would all want to see Sully get a ride anyway, even if it is only for a couple of rounds. We've seen him at Valencia. He was able to battle there or thereabouts with Evan Belford's time throughout the weekend. Sadly, he didn't make it to the main race, but still second place in the British Talent Cup, and a full season in the Red Bull Rookies. The extra track time, it's going to help no matter what.
Yeah. And Liam, you're working in Dorna. I don't know how much insight you've got into any of this behind the scenes talk or what's going on there, but a fantastic further progression as well for the Brits in general, for MLav as an outfit, and Dorna once again putting their money where their mouth is and saying that the British market and the British riders are important. Here's what we're doing about it. And once again, as well, also, you might have noticed that all of those 4 riders are all Fab graduates. So proving once again, the best place to start off if you're a young racer is at Fab Racing. But anyway, so yeah, do you know any more than what was in the press release, Liam? I'm going to suggest you maybe won't tell us anyway, but did I kind of get that right? Is Johnny Garness not maybe 100% confirmed it is depending on his recovery?
Yeah, well, first things first, when you mention are all Fab graduates, I think they're all racers from when I done Fab back in 2019. And just thinking back on it, Belford was champion that year, him and O'Shea were going for the mini GP 70 title, Garness won the LC40 Elite, and Brinton, he was part of that. He went off to Spain for the rest of his life.
You followed him?
Probably. I was like, that life looks pretty good over there. I'll have fancy some of that myself. But yeah, I mean, they really are the cream of the crop of British talent at the moment. There's a lot more coming through, which is great to see from Fab and what Dorna are doing to really push the British focus, which I think is something that they're worried that might be sort of waning a little bit, considering that Jake is probably the best one to go forward at the moment. Unfortunately, Rory has lost his seat. You've got Josh Watley and Scott Ogden in Moto3. They've had a bit of a tough season, although I do think the third year should be a little bit better with the MLav. When it comes to the announcement, I actually didn't know anything about it until Sunday evening, to be honest, when I went onto our Slack channel and just saw it sitting there. So I didn't know much behind the scenes, and everything that came out in the press release, I spoke to one of our insiders that puts everything out, Fran Weldon. Yeah, she just confirmed that everything that was there was on point. However, the Garness thing, I spoke to one of the team members, who was a team manager. I think he might be the team manager. A really young guy called Colley. Really nice guy at Portsmouth back in, I think it was July, when I was there for the Junior GP, and he was really open about Johnny's situation, saying that he doesn't know whether he's going to ride. His parents, as you can imagine, would rather not see their son continue riding after a big injury like that, but he was starting to work at it. He was going to school, I think during the summer, just to get extra lessons. He would go to school maybe twice for 2 hours a day, to not to give him too much to work on, just because it was a big brain injury. So you don't want to really overload him with too much information all at once. So it's good. The team are backing him. They said they want to work with him in the off season, bring him out to Spain, take him around a karting track, stick him on a pit bike at first, and then stick him on the European Talent Cup bike to just get him up to speed, not push him too much, let him build at his own pace. And as you said, he could be back for the first round next year. It could be a little bit later, but the good thing is the MLav team are fully backing Johnny, and not just Johnny, but Brinton, O'Shea, and of course Belford. So it's exciting times, to be honest, and Junior GP should be brilliant next year. It's Eddie O'Shea's 4th year, and he is at one with the class now, and I think the MLav team is perfect for him to help push him on further. And you've got to remember, 2023 was really kind of a reset year for Eddie O'Shea, considering he had a massive injury at the end of last year, and maybe not a lot of people will know about, but he had to, I think it was a cow artery he had to get placed into his leg.
A cow's artery?
Yeah, to help with blood flow again.
Didn't know that.
To his leg. He was losing feeling after like 3 laps on the bike. I remember speaking to him at Aragon last year, and he was just thinking this is the end of his career, basically. But he had surgery in the off season, so he's built himself back up. And Eddie O'Shea, I think, will be one to really watch in Junior GP this year.
Yeah, he had a really good end to the season as well. That was didn't go unnoticed.
Always in the top group, fighting for the podium. So yeah, he's got a good stepping stone to continue with that progression.
Yeah, we met up with him at the NEC a couple of weeks ago, me and Lewis, and we sort of knew something was going on in the background. Eddie wouldn't exactly tell us, but he's not the... He's bless him. He's not got a very good poker face. So we were able to kind of put 1, 2, and 2 together and come up with roughly. We basically knew what the announcement was because, well, we knew Evan Belford was doing something with MLav, and they said, we can't say anything till the end of the GP season. Bit weird, okay. And then, Eddie was like, I can't say anything, nothing. We're going to be announced at the end of the GP season. So they're both saying the same thing, which means that Dorna was involved. That was my thinking anyway. So we kind of just put 2 and 2 together and it was good news. I was surprised, however, about Emmanuel Brinton, not because he doesn't deserve to be there, but just they're starting off with 4 bikes, potentially. And he was already in one of the top leading teams doing pretty well. So, he's made the switch. And Jay, what do you reckon about the brand new British talent team, who are all coincidentally from Fab?
It's really good. I was quite surprised to kind of see how it's gone. It's going to be, because we've been used to seeing those Michael Laverty colours for the last couple of years, so that it's kind of like 2 teams that have kind of come together as one to probably put I think we all agree, probably the best British talent at this moment on those bikes. A shout out to, I don't know if Lewis went and watched it, but Ethan Sparks, also another Fab rider, who went and got a top 3 in the World FIM mini bike series, which was just before Valencia, and he got a podium. So against some of the best riders in the world. So that was a real amazing achievement. Obviously, I think he's double Fab 70 champion. Yep. So yeah, it was that was a really good. A really, shall we say, a good effort by Ethan just to be able to get that against some really talented riders. So, a really good team for the Michael Laverty team. It'd be interesting to see if the Moto3 bikes will be in those colours next year, or they'll stay in the Michael Laverty colours, or if they will go into those British Talent Cup colours as well. So, I think John McPhee ran those colours quite a few seasons ago. Yeah. I would say about 2018, something like that. He ran those colours. So interesting to see if those bikes go in those colours as well.
There may be another announcement shortly. Well, I know there will be because it's already been announced about an announcement. Yeah. The Completely Motorcycles team company. No, the company. Completely Motorcycles, who are backing the Completely Motorcycles BSB team. Anyway, they put out a picture yesterday with Michael Laverty saying that we've got a secret announcement to announce.
So a new sponsor.
So let's guess. Is Completely Motorcycles going to be backing MLav in British Talent Cup? I think so. Which is good news, I think, if that's what it is. Yeah. So what do you reckon, Lewis? Am I right again?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to give you a big head, but it seems like obviously they're already heavily involved in the British Superbike paddock and what was Junior Supersport and Stock 600. So it would be good to see them once again supporting younger riders and giving the Michael Laverty team a bit more money to put into their riders. So hopefully, because it's always one of the best looking setups, and it doesn't look like they're going to be with Vision Track next year, because in the Moto3 provisional entry list, they were just under MLav Racing as well. So perhaps looking for a new sponsor.
Yeah, it was expected, I think, by many people for Vision Track to reduce their commitment. I don't know if they've entirely pulled out of everything. It'd be a shame to see them entirely go, because they've been great supporters of young British talent and the MLav team as well. But potentially, we might be looking at the Completely Motorcycles MLav British Talent Cup team, if that's what it is called. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe it could be something else. Maybe that's the Moto3 deal that they've just wrapped up. Maybe they're... But I'd be surprised, but it would make more sense, as Completely Motorcycles are already in BSB anyway. They've already got commitments there. So why not support a few more young British up-and-coming top talents, for example. Talking about top talents in the British Talent Cup, we will get on some MotoGP in just a second, but it occurred to me, I had this picture lined up just a moment ago. Basically, the top 3 from British Talent Cup this year, Evan Belford, Sullivan Mounsey and Emmanuel Brinton, all moving on now, and I was struggling to figure out who might be the title challengers, although I'm not sure if Brinton might come back and do a year. He may win it if he did, but it sounds like he's a bit busy.
I doubt. I think we won't see any of them at British Talent Cup next year, which it's probably I don't want to sound it bad, but it's probably a good thing, because we're going to see a whole load of new riders.
Ronnie Harris.
The championship. I think, Ronnie Harris, Philip as well, who had a really strong end to the season as well.
Is Lucas Brown doing another year?
I don't know. He's gone really quiet, Lucas. Yeah, to be honest with you, he's gone very quiet. It's
always a bad sign.
Sometimes no news is good news.
He's always away in Spain training, but I haven't heard from him in a little while, so don't know where he's gone.
Well,
I think British Talent Cup, that those 3 are not returning. It just shows how good the British talent actually is at the moment. How well the British Talent Cup is at the moment as well. They were pushing on young British riders to go to the world scene now, so it's doing a good job. And they're, like past champions like Scott Ogden, they're well within the the furniture of Moto3 now, because he's been there for a couple of years. They're expecting big things from him. So it's a great breeding ground for young British talent.
I'm hoping next year is going to be a lot better for Josh and Scott, because they're hopefully these new Hondas, because that Honda did look like, apart from with Masia, it really looked like it was struggling last year compared to the KTM. So I'm real fingers crossed that Honda are going to bring a lot better Moto3 to the grid next season.
Yeah, it seemed to be for the Honda last year, it was the KTM that always had a little bit more punch coming out the corners, and the Honda to carry that speed a lot more. But yeah, and Scott and Josh as well, of course, they've had a pretty terrible end to the season. I mean, yeah, of course, Josh fractured his leg in Qatar, and then Scott, he had a shoulder injury in Valencia as well during free practice 3. So, yeah, very disappointing for them. And Eddie O'Shea was the person who got lucky, and got to do the test on the Pirelli tyres, and he was actually really quick.
Yeah, his lap times were good.
Yeah, it was competitive. So who knows? Potentially Eddie O'Shea could become Vision Track's go-to replacement rider if they really need it. But hopefully they won't.
Well, fingers crossed. And I have to say a big shout out and a big load of credit to Dorna themselves as well, because for all the criticism, sometimes wrongly, that they receive from fans, they're actually doing something that they don't have to do, and we've said this before. They're literally putting their hand in the pocket and putting the money where their mouth is and supporting young British talent like this. So all credit to Dorna.
I'm going to fire some shots. So don't you think that's a bit embarrassing that our own don't help out, though? I mean, we've got the ACU here, and they do absolutely bugger all and do not help young British talent whatsoever. I think it's a bit embarrassing that we have to use Dorna. I mean, if Rory was a Spanish rider, the Spanish would be paying for him to get into a team and it wouldn't be a problem. But the ACU do not want to put a single penny into it. So, yeah, thank you, Dorna, but it should be our own racing organisation that should be helping out. I've said my bit now. Carry on.
Thoughts of Jay King there, not a Motorsport Media employee.
Sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
Sort it out, ACU.
Hope you're not getting skills from that fence at all. But yeah, I would like to add to that point that I'm not because I'm employed by them, but the great thing that Dorna do want is they don't want more Spanish and Italians coming through the system. They do want people from the UK and also further afield, the Asia Talent Cup. That's what that's set there for as well. So Dorna really want to bring this to more of an international field, especially now the fact that we're going to Thailand, Indonesia, India now this year, maybe Kazakhstan next year. And yeah, it's something that Dorna really, really want to do, is make this a big international championship, and they're going the right way about it. The fact that now we've got so many young Asian riders coming through, it's taken a while for the Asian Talent Cup to produce these riders, and it will happen for the British Talent Cup, for the NTC as well, where we will get all of these riders from further afield coming through and being the next Marc Marquez, the next Pecco Bagnaia, the next Pedro Acosta from different nationalities.
Okay. And Lewis, any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, just kind of repeating what they say. I mean, it shows that it's working, whether that be Asian Talent Cup, British Talent Cup, although it's a shame that we don't get to see them racing in Britain, round tracks like Knockhill and Alton Park and,
it's not all about Knockhill.
I know they're not even going there next year, even if they were in the grid. But yeah, it just shows that it's working, and it's great to see. And hopefully we could see Scott or Josh have a good season and then potentially try and make a step up. And well, from my perspective, hopefully we can see Rory Skinner get a ride, even if that's somewhere like European Moto2 next season. So yeah, it's the healthiest British motorcycle racing has looked on the global stage in quite a few years. I mean, although we've had the likes of Cal Crutchlow and Bradley Smith and Scott Redden, we've never really seen such a progression from younger riders that look like they're going down the Grand Prix route and not the production British Superbike route. So yeah, it's great to see. It's promising for the future anyway. So hopefully we can see them keep progressing through the ranks. And for Evan and Sullivan, have a good year next year, a good first year that is, in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. And yeah, that's going to be a tough championship for everyone on identical bikes.
It always is a tough championship for sure. I still think we might just see Mounsey join that team, even if it's just for a few rounds or a few races, maybe just to, I don't know, keep Johnny's seat warm or something, whatever. But it'd be a shame if he wasn't part of the British Talent MLav team at some point. But hey ho, we'll just have to wait and see. Right, because we've spent like a whole half hour or so talking about that, and I only meant to spend like 15 minutes talking about it, really. We will move on. So, Liam, just before we get to MotoGP, just wanted to ask you some questions now. So all spotlights on Liam Hodgins of MotoGP. Exactly. So this is our time to interrogate you. Well, we've not seen you for a while, since you were last on the show anyway. And you were kind of like busy in amongst doing when was it? It was this season when you last on the show, wasn't it? Yeah,
I think it was the week. I think it was the week before the first round of the year.
Really?
We came on to do like a preview show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Okay.
So,
I didn't think it was. Okay, so we've had an entire season then. So for you then, what's life been like in MotoGP in 2023?
Well, it's been like 350 kilometers an hour from start to finish. It's been a wild ride the whole way through. It's like it's got more roller coaster up and downs than Portimao itself. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but it's been good fun.
Yeah, and tell us what you do then on a daily basis, really. I know you mentioned a little bit earlier on, but what do you actually do as part of the media team at MotoGP?
Oh, well, every year they give me less and less to do. Like they put me more into like coordination roles now. So basically,
big responsibilities, coordinating.
Yeah, it takes away from like the actual sort of hands-on stuff, which I prefer a little bit, to be honest. But yeah, I realize I keep freezing. Is that me? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just got distracted by myself freezing. I know I shouldn't point that out in media. Sorry, Lester. But
Don't worry about it.
We'll
let it out.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, that bit's gone. So, yeah, I coordinate a group of sort of editors, more freelance now, and I will edit bits and pieces. I do most of my editing during the weekend. It's just small clips, really. Things you'll find on Instagram, like 9x16, which is vertical, so you can see it on your phone. We'll clip action shots like that most of the time. If there's anything major happening, like for example, Pecco Bagnaia and Maverick Vinales clashing into each other at Le Mans, which was huge because of like the scuffle afterwards, was I'll work on something more like that and editing together with the interviews involved and getting the reactions. So yeah, that's basically what I do. When I started out, I was doing everything. I was doing LinkedIn, I was covering World SBK sometimes, I was doing all social media posts a lot along with other people, but I worked away at the video editing stuff because I preferred that, and over time, as a few people left, I moved into their role, and then at the start of this year I moved into more of a coordination role and coming up with ideas for what we're going to post on YouTube, which we're working on a lot right now for the off season. So there's lots coming out on MotoGP's YouTube channel, plug there, for the off season. So yeah, ideas, coordination, do some editing, and that's basically my life.
Cool. Well, that does sound.
And sometimes doing a bit of commentary and live stuff on the side, but that's very occasional. But yeah, every day it's what I just said.
Yeah, it sounds like a real tough job you got over there, living the life in Spain and working at a world championship. Did you ever think that you'd be doing that and living in Spain and working for MotoGP, say 10 years ago?
10 years ago. What was I doing 10 years ago? Yeah, I was still at college, I think. I don't even remember. I don't even think Lewis was born back then. So yeah, that's how old I am.
Wow, so, he was only eight. Well, shit, he was 8 years old.
Wasn't double digits yet.
Jesus.
Basically still not even born. No, 10 years ago, absolutely not. I was fumbling my way through life 10 years ago at college, working some part-time jobs, university eventually. And then one day, I think it was 24, I was just like, I'm so done with this. I'm going to take a life reset and basically, I'm not saying this is what you should do, anybody, but I thought for me, I might just try this out, see how it goes. I was getting into radio. I was doing some community shows. I thought I wanted to concentrate on that properly, quit my job. Shouldn't have done that, but it meant I could focus on that. Eventually went back to college, went doing a radio course, mainly to learn how to do editing, which I learned how to do quite well, which has worked in my favour, and also just make contacts within the industry. And that's how I met Lester, who gave me the chance on Motorsport Radio and the Superbike show. Sorry, Lester, I'm not blowing too much smoke up you. And then, worked all the way from there. So, 10 years ago, never thought it would happen. But as life sometimes works out, it works out. But I'm sure if you work hard enough and you keep getting your name out there, as I know some people have done, if it doesn't work the first time round, just keep trying, because your name is out there. You've left a good impression, and it will eventually work out for you, as it did with me, because I got knocked back like 4 or 5 times before the eventual was just like, oh, for God's sake, we'll just give him an opportunity just to shut him up. So, that's how it worked out.
It becomes a bit of a throwaway line and something to make fun of a little bit, to say that, I got knocked back a couple of times. And eventually, I minded them enough that they eventually give me a job. Yeah, well, sometimes it does literally work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the fact that I sent a few emails to my now boss. I eventually added him on LinkedIn, but I thought I had him on LinkedIn, but I didn't.
Turned up at his house.
I added him on LinkedIn. Sorry? Yeah, absolutely. I sent him a message, and then he put my name into his email address, and he was like, oh my God, he sent me so many emails over the past year. So it worked out that way. And I know it happens to so many people where they want to get to all walks of life. And I know it sounds cliche to say, but you just never give up, because eventually one day you'll knock on their door and they'll be needing you, or they might not have heard from you for a while. They might have thought you were the perfect candidate, but they've not heard from you for a while. So they might go with someone that knocks on their door. So I won't say harass people for a job, but just keep your name out there, show you're still keen, and you'll eventually get there.
Don't let them forget you.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, fair enough. Good advice, I would say, because it worked for you. And if any young aspiring media professionals wondering what's the best way to get in the industry, have sent loads of CVs off and have been knocked back loads of times, or whatever it is, or I want to be a commentator, all I keep getting is doors closing in my face. Just keep on. Obviously, don't be too don't annoy people, but just keep chipping away at it. Use your age as an advantage. If you're a younger person, then you've got more time to keep reminding them that you're still here, you still want to do a good job for them, and whether that's working, doing something in media or whatever it is you want to do, or working at MotoGP, maybe one day in Spain, who knows. But I've got one more question for you before I guess maybe Lewis might have a couple of questions, I don't know. But what's your professional highlight, Liam, this season in MotoGP for you? What are you most proud of?
I think that's an easy one, to be honest. So obviously MotoGP had its 1000th GP this year, and we managed to get from Duke Video, like, big thank you to Duke Video for giving Dorna the pre-1992 footage. Anything we wanted to use, we were allowed to use it. However, we had to use a certain amount, and it was amazing. So we got to make 3 videos using footage from 1949 all the way up to 1991, and of course our stuff from when Dorna acquired MotoGP in 1992. And it was just, it was so amazing to bring it all together into 3 videos. One was the top 15 most iconic riders, top 10 biggest rivalries, and top 10 best battles. And just to see the whole 75 years of MotoGP in 9-minute videos was just incredible. And the fact that I got to voice the rivalries one, which I really wanted to do, because we got to talk about Sepang 2015, which has just been hush since it happened. We've now been allowed to use that again, that footage, and we've included it in a couple of other videos since. And to voice over that was awesome. And also the fact that I voiced over a video that Murray Walker was talking in as well. So yeah, bringing that all together, it was a lot of hard work. I think I was working 3 weeks straight with a team of people, because we obviously had all of our GP content to do at the same time. That was put to the side. We're working on it bit by bit, and just to watch it all come together was amazing, because I would edit some of the video and then I would have to go do something else, so someone else would take over for the rest of it. Yeah, biggest highlight of the year for me in a professional stance, and just being able to talk about MotoGP on an official MotoGP level is just brilliant. And that's something that on a bad day, I try and remind myself, because it's easy to forget when you're actually in it so much. And yeah, sometimes it's easy to take it for granted, but looking back on that, it's definitely the best part.
Oh, well, that sounds like you got a good job there, Liam, to be honest, if I'm honest. Yeah, this is an opportunity for Jay and Lewis to ask any questions as well, and even if you're just repeating questions that you might have asked him before, maybe. Should we start with Lewis?
Fun enough. Well, hi Liam once again, and well, while we're doing the show, it's the 5th of December and the MotoGP season finished, just this time last week actually, the test finished. So what's left for you this year, now that it's effectively the off season?
Honestly, I don't know why, but when you said it was the 5th of December MotoGP's finished, I thought you were going to ask me, was I Team Peck or Team Martin? So I was like, don't know if I can say.
We'll ask you that later.
I thought it was going to come at some point. For that, yeah, the off season, like, I actually prefer the in season stuff, because you know what's coming, it's easier. The off season stuff is crazy. Even the summer break, it's just all flat out. So we have, I think, 20 special videos, we'll call them, in the works at the moment. Some are completed, some I think are posted. They'll just be from like top 5s, like top 5 best moments of Pecco Bagnaia, top 5 best moments from Pedro Costa and Gian Masia, but we don't want to talk about that. And yeah, it's a lot of work. We've already come up with a plan a couple of months in advance. We've been working on things throughout the year, like, for example, after Catalunya, when Aleix Espargaro beat Maverick Vinales, just an idea popped into my head. Like, wait a minute, that's like the 5th time or 6th time that a teammate has literally beaten their own teammate for the win. So we've come up with that for the off season when we do the reposts of the Catalan GP. So it's just random stuff like that. However, since the season did finish so late, it's basically Christmas tomorrow. Like, Christmas trees are up, snow is falling. I know it's literally falling in the UK. I've only got 3 more working days left, because in Catalonia, tomorrow and on Friday is bank holidays. So we have to take them off, and I come back to Scotland next Wednesday. So I've taken it off from then. And yeah, there'll be some people still working, but not too many. And most of the content will be complete. However, when we're at work, it's flat out from 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. For example, today I've done voiceovers for Ducati season highlight video and an Aprilia one as well. Thankfully, I don't have to edit those ones this year. I had to do all 6 of them 2 years ago, and yeah, I was destroyed afterwards. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but thankfully there's a great team of people that are also working away on it.
And well, you spoke a little there about when you're actually working. What does your GP week differ from your normal week? What does your work schedule actually look like from the office?
From the office. Well, basically, if it's a week without a GP beforehand, it will be turn up on Monday, or actually probably turn up on Tuesday, because we get our days back, so we use them as a long weekend. So I'll turn up on Tuesday, usually the stuff that for the weekend coming up, we've prepared the week before. So usually post-weekend, GP weekend is just flat out because you're doing stuff for the weekend that's just happened, and then you're immediately preparing stuff for the next weekend. So yeah, hard at work right away. So Tuesday, normal day, quite quiet. Wednesday, kind of the same, but we might have a pre-event where we'll have to make some videos for. Thursday, we turn up a little bit later because the press conference or the media work that starts later, which I wish would actually start earlier, to be honest, because hanging around the office at 8 o'clock at night is never ideal. So yeah, I usually edit the MotoGP social videos, which can take a while sometimes, especially when you've got to chop up the audio of the riders, depending on their level, the skill level of the English language. Some are fantastic, incredible, better than mine. Some need a little bit of work. And yeah, from there, turn up on a Friday. We split the shifts between myself and an Italian guy called Nicolo. He'll usually do the early shift. I'll usually do the late shift because I need to post stuff on YouTube later, like what we learned, where we gathered the information of the day for every rider, and then we send it to an editor and go, okay, here's like 6 moments or 6 talking points of the day. There you go. Basically, go have fun and make a video from it, while we wait around just cutting up other little bits of video. Saturday used to be, I feel like Saturday now is actually a lot easier than it was last year. And I don't know why. It's like the TISO sprint is just taken the whole manic feel of the day away, where you've got a massive event happening later on in the day, so you don't go too crazy with content. So it's kind of like pretty slow, simple as the day goes on. And then as a TISO sprint happens, everything just goes nuts. So yeah, it's content galore after that. And then Sunday, it's basically the same. Actually, not too difficult, apart from after the MotoGP race, especially after Valencia, which was as soon as Jorge Martin tried to obliterate his championship into the side of Pecco Bagnaia. As soon as that happened, we were non-stop from then until about 11 o'clock at night. So while the rest of the people at Circuit were enjoying the gala, we were all sitting in the office continuing to do lots of work. So yeah, even though that's a little bit different, that's usually what a GP week will look like. And then post-GP, recap the weekend that's just happened. And then I will go away and start working on hot topics for the next weekend, which is a lot of work to do. You've got to find the information, go through all the stats, write the script, voice it, and then I usually edit the video, which can be anywhere between 5 minutes and sometimes 10 minutes. So yeah, a lot of work to do. It's non-stop most of the time, especially when you've got back-to-backs. So yeah, I don't know if that was a good answer, but hopefully it was all right.
Yeah, it was a pretty good answer. And
it's answered everything I had in my mind. I forgot one question.
I'm sorry.
Jade, you want to go ahead? Yeah.
So you were just saying that. So, like, I'm guessing you work with a lot of Spanish and Italians. Does that mean, unlike every other English person, you are fluent in Italian and Spanish?
Mi español no es bueno. So
that's a no then.
Muy poquito. So no, it's they speak. Most of the company speaks a lot in English or Catalan, actually. So since obviously based in Catalonia, a lot of it is in Catalan. So yeah, I would love to do better at my Spanish, but there's a lot of times where I'm literally in the office until about 10 o'clock at night. So literally,
I haven't got time to learn Spanish.
I literally have a book on my shelf. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Spanish for Dummies, which I think I pull off my shelf every January for a few days, and then I kind of forget about it as the season begins. So Spanish could be better, even though my girlfriend, she's Mexican, so she tries to teach me, then gives up and just reverts back to English because her English is outstanding. So yeah, I could be better. Will be better eventually. Takes time. I'm a slow learner.
Well, hopefully your Spanish can get better. But when do you actually go back to Spain? And obviously you leave to come back to sunny Scotland after a couple more days of work. So when do you fly back out to Spain before the next season, before the testing gets underway, actually?
So I think depends year on year, to be honest. Sometimes I'll leave it late January, sometimes I'll come back sooner. Right now, I don't really have a plan because I come to Scotland next Wednesday and then I come back to Spain for a day on Christmas Eve. Then the next day after that, I fly to Mexico for 10 days and then I come back. And then my girlfriend, she wants to go to Scotland. So, yeah, don't know the plan. So, yeah, jet setting from one end of the world to the other and then back again. It's
a lot of traveling.
Yeah, not as much as I would like. I would like to do a lot more traveling, but yeah, maybe next year. We'll see. Hopefully. Fingers crossed and touch wood and all of that.
Finally, for me, and before we actually start talking about MotoGP itself, the small matter of MotoGP. What's been the hardest part of your job, and what's been almost the most enjoyable part?
So the hardest part, then the most enjoyable part, or the most enjoyable part?
We'll end off on the high. Yeah, both.
Yeah, why not? Start off in the low. The low point is definitely sometimes the long hours in the office, because I mean, especially when you're working the GP weekends. I know it sounds like such a bad thing to say, but traveling an hour one way and an hour back again, it just takes time out of your day, and then you're just in the same office day in, day out. I see the office more than I see anyone else in my life, to be honest. So yeah, that can get a little bit just sort of monotonous and drag on a little bit, and you want to be out there seeing the world and traveling with the circus per se. So that can be the hardest part. But then if I look back on it, definitely the hardest part was when I first came to Barcelona, when I was out here for like a month and then COVID hit. So yeah, I was stuck in this little room in Col Blanc in Barcelona with a bunch of students, and they disappeared for 2 weeks. So it was just there, myself and my girlfriend at the time, and they came back, brought a bunch of people, and it's like the middle of a pandemic, and you're just like stuck in this room, don't want to go outside of the room because you don't know if you're going to catch anything, what's going to happen if you do. Internet connection was crap, so I'm trying to do video edits that are taking like something that should take half an hour is taking like 7 hours, and being isolated from everyone that I didn't really know and being in a separate country, that was definitely the hardest part of the job. The best part of the job, actually just working with people that I work with, because the social team especially are just a brilliant bunch of people. Like, everyone gets on so well. We always hang out together. We always go to quiz nights or brunches, or even just after GP weekends, we go out on a night out on a Sunday. So yeah, that's definitely the best part of it. And yeah, I mean, for people that get to travel to the races, I know traveling to the races and being at the circle will be the best part for them, because I work with a lot of them and they love it, especially the flyaways where they get to hang out in Bangkok or India or Sydney, Melbourne, whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of good, but yeah, definitely I'd say the people I work with is the best part of the job.
Cool. That's all for me. Shall we move on to actual race itself, or you got anything else to add, Lester?
No, I've got all the information I need out of Liam for now. We may come back, and in case anyone drops any questions in the comments, and you want to know what life is actually like, living and working at a World Championship, MotoGP, living in Spain, then yeah, just drop us a line.
At what point is Spain has got like well over the UK, and it's the travel here is just second to none. Not in terms of availability, but in terms of like the cost of a ticket. You could buy a monthly ticket here for 20 euros. In Scotland, when I go back there, I've basically wasted about 200 in 2 days. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, the UK needs to learn. Spain.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it all in. Yeah, thank you. We're all stuck here.
Anyone listening who's part of like the travel sector, please do something in the UK. Help everyone out.
Fantastic. And so there you go. If you want cheap travel, head to the EU. Anyway, right. So anyway, we have got the small matter of MotoGP to discuss. It was, let's say, an interesting season. As you know, Lewis, you were there for the final round as well. You had a literal spectator's view of things. You were in the grandstand and screaming your head off, presumably.
Yeah, scream my head off next to two French Quattararo fans. So I could speak more French than what they could English. So yeah, we could only really communicate on oohs and ahs throughout the whole weekend. But still, yeah, really enjoyable, very dramatic.
You can probably speak more French than I can do Spanish.
So yeah, the entire season then overall, I'm going to ask Liam actually. As you work for MotoGP and you're there and you're in the middle of it all and stuff, did it pan out the way maybe you wanted it to?
I kind of wanted an easier end to the season, to be honest, because it was ramping up and the content was just getting wild. I was just like, oh crap, how am I going to survive to Valencia? I think for everybody, it ended up the way that they wanted, if that makes sense. But okay. Yeah, I would have wanted an easier season, even though the title showdown was actually extremely exciting and just, working for the title decided last year was sort of different. Nobody really expected Quartararo to overturn Pecco, but there was a real feeling that Martin was going to do it. I literally thought since India that Martin was going to win the championship. I thought Pecco had blown his chance, looking like the title favourite all year long, but it didn't pan out that way, and we got an incredible title showdown. And what I loved the most about it was actually the feel-good stories towards the end of the year.
The feel-good stories. Remind me one of them, because I'm sure there was loads.
Oh, I think fan favourite Digia was the biggest one, which was like I've always been a fan of Digia. He just seems like such a nice guy, and he's just always got a smile on his face, and he's just got I feel like he's got a really good personality, and something that a character that MotoGP really needs, and someone that's worked really hard. And he's someone, as you were saying about Eddie O'Shea earlier on, has a really bad poker face. So when you know something's going well, it's going well. If something's going bad, you know it's going really bad. So yeah, he can't hold away his emotions. And to see him first get the podium in Australia, which I must admit was just crazy in the office. Like everyone was just cheering when the final lap hit. It was incredible. And then Digia coming past, you go, oh my God, he's actually got on the podium. And you thought that would be it. That would be the height of the year for him. And then all of a sudden, he just schools Pecco with 4 laps to go. So, and then pushes Pecco into mistake. And yeah, I was really gutted for him, to be honest, in Valencia.
He lost that second place.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big talking point next year, isn't it?
Tire pressures. Ugh.
Yeah, it's... So yeah, there was that, and also watching Enea Bastianini win again was really good, because what I loved about that story is that all weekend it was ramping up the pressure that Jorge Martin was going to take his seat for next year. And even Paolo Ciapatti on the live with MotoGP.com and Simon Crafar, or maybe Jack Appleyard, one of the two. It was really early in the morning, I can't really remember. So they were saying that, he was saying that, if Martin wins, then we've got really no choice but to promote him to the factory team ahead alongside Pecco Bagnaia. And then he used those comments as fuel to go out and in the sprint not push Pecco too much. And then in the race, he saw an opportunity when Martin dive-bombed Pecco into turn 1, found himself in the lead and then never looked back. So that was an amazing story, which was a story that we actually really wanted to create content around. I don't know if you might see that we post something on a Tuesday which we don't specifically call it the key story in the title, but it's called the key story to us of the weekend. And we were pushing to post about that story. Same with Digia, but since we were ramping up the title battle, we were pushing that a lot more. So yeah, the feel good stories, Digia and the Beast, I think, for me. I thought we were going to come on to it later, so that's why I stopped earlier on.
It's been a good year MotoGP for feel-good stories, and also to cap it all off for Fabio, ended up getting the VR46 ride for next year, so replacing Luca Marini. And while we're kind of on the subject of Fabio Di Giannantonio, obviously I'm guessing you're pretty excited with that move. He's on the grid once again next year after getting that first race win. But then on the other hand, you have Luca Marini, who's left arguably the best package on the grid, apart from obviously the factory team, to then go on to one of the least competitive at the moment anyway with Honda. So what do you make of the moves right now in MotoGP in the past week?
Oh, the moves are crazy. Like, you could literally write a soap opera with the amount of changes we've had in MotoGP just as a silly season. I'm really pleased to see Digia on the grid again. Like, he fully deserved it. You cannot say that in the last 8 rounds, basically since Japan and India, he was the third highest point scorer behind your two title contenders, Bagnaia and Martin. And ever since he came back from the summer break, he was always inside the top 8 every single race. And it's because he worked so hard with Frankie Carchetti, who's obviously going to be Marc Marquez's crew chief next year, which is incredible. And he found that the ergonomics of where Digia was sitting was all wrong at the start of the year. And it wasn't about just changing the bike to fix Digia. It was also to rebuild him as a rider, build his confidence, because this game is mostly about confidence, about, is it like some people would say, north of the eyebrows, which is completely right. You have to feel confident in your ability, in the bike. And if you go on to, I would say the website, I know maybe something else is a little bit better to look at the moment. You can sort of go through the season and see the progression of Digia, and then by the end of the year, it's a no-brainer. Like, if it was anyone but Bagnaia in Valencia, he would have crossed the line first, because Bagnaia is just the hardest breaker in the whole paddock. So he would have got past him, would have crossed the line in the lead, but would have got demoted off podium. So
that would have been even worse if he had got past him. So
maybe it was a blessing in disguise he never got through on Pecco, but then again, he may have opened up a gap of 0.8 of a second, which would have kept him on the podium. So that's good. Even though Fermin Aldeguer has put himself in the prime seat to have taken that ride. However, he was only 18 years old. I say he still is only 18 years old. Very young rider, incredibly talented. It's probably good to see him fight for the title next year, considering he is so young, and then move him up. I mean, there's talk he has a pre-contract with Pramac for 2025, which is interesting in itself, because does that mean Jorge Martin is moving on somewhere else? Is he moving to the factory team, or is he potentially going off somewhere else? It's you can't really rate it. But yeah, Luca Marini, who I think has actually pulled a blinder of a move, to be honest. I know lots of people won't agree, but he's finally stepping out of Valentino Rossi's shadow a little bit, which you could say that then he's getting compared to Rossi being there 20 years ago. So I think it's a good move for him. He's one of the most intelligent riders in the grid, very analytical, can tell you where something is wrong, what he needs, why he needs it. And he also is taking a lot, with Zarco, taking a lot of Ducati knowledge to Honda. And that can only benefit them. A 2-year contract, will be paid good money. And at the end of the day, if it all fails, you can just go back to VR46. I'm sure they won't say you're not coming back. They'll welcome him with open arms. So I think it's a great move. And from the test, the Honda looked a different bike completely, both on the outside and the inside. And Joan Mir was over the moon with it. And Luca Marini was looking pretty good on the bike eventually. So yeah, I think it could be a good time for Marini to be a Honda rider.
My theory with him is he's never going to look bad, is he? Because if he does rubbish on it, everyone's going to blame the bike. Yeah. And if he does really well, he's going to look like a hero. So it doesn't matter, does it? Either way, he's going to come out of it all right. And plus, I had a little theory that Rossi went to Honda and said, look, you can have Luca Marini, but you've finally got to give me my 500cc two-stroke that you will not let me have. So, but that's my theory, that he's now got his Honda two-stroke that he never was able to take.
I hope he does, because that's the bike that got me into MotoGP. Like Valentino Rossi going through turn 1 at Suzuka and giving Max Biaggi the finger was my first ever race. And I've loved that bike ever since. And I just want Valentino Rossi to have that iconic bike, because he made MotoGP for me right at the beginning. So, yeah, it's he deserves it. Like, come on,
I actually sat and watched his first win the other day at Donington when he was battling with Jeremy McWilliams. So when they were like power sliding it down Craner curbs, because it was damp conditions. Awesome race that was.
It was like peaky horsepower, intermediate tyres. It's drying out. You've got 3 riders pinning it down the Craner curve slide. It's iconic. Yeah. I love watching that race as well. Every so
I was a big guy, because even though it was good to see Rossi win his first race, that would have been brilliant to see McWilliams have won that race. That would have been really good.
Yeah, him and Aprilia both winning would just be a great story.
Even 23 years later.
About it.
This isn't a 2023 MotoGP season review.
No,
it's 2000.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah. Well, sadly, we speak about those peaky horsepower days, and now all talk next year is on, well, tyres and tyre pressures. And, well, we spoke about a little bit with Digi and the final round, and, well, it happened. Well, Jorge Martin claimed he had a duff tyre at Qatar, which cost him a result as well. So with the tyre pressure rules getting heightened, I guess you could say, next year, there's going to be bigger penalties in place. There's going to be, it's going to be more strict. What's your thoughts on the whole tyre? I know you probably can't say too much, but the whole tyre situation at the moment, considering I don't believe we're getting the new Michelin front tyre next year either. I think it's 25 that's maybe arriving now.
Yeah, it's 25. However, I know Michelin are going to give it to the riders a test throughout the year. They also took it to the Valencia test, and apparently nobody ran the tyre because it was just too cold.
It was the hard tyre, I believe it was.
Yeah. So, it's too cold to run that hard tyre, especially since you've never ridden on that tyre before. So, too much of a risk, especially when there's a lot of riders trying to get up to speed with the new machine. The tyre conundrum is really tricky, because it's not really Michelin's fault, because they were working on a tyre to bring in for 21, and then COVID happened, so it had to be delayed. And during that time, you basically had Gigi Dall'Igna and Ken Koichi and all of those people sitting at home or at the factory and just coming up with ideas, and especially Gigi Dall'Igna, and coming up with this crazy aero. For some reason, yesterday I was looking back at some races from 2020, and you had the commentators go, "Oh, look at Jack Miller. There's a squat device." It's like, oh yeah, the right hit device is just so new. You forget how new it is, because it just seems so normal now. And that's another problem. Like, you've had this innovation, you've had the aero. Like, I must admit, I absolutely love the look of the bikes right now. Yeah. I think they look like beasts. For example, I've got 2 mini champs bikes up there. One of Rossi's testing bike from 2001 and a Tony Elias one. I really want Pecco Bagnaglia's Ducati, because I just think it looks manic, and also the Aprilia. So from this year, because in a few years' time they'll all be stripped back, and we'll look back on this era and just go, they look amazing. Aero is a big part to play with it, because so much hot air is coming off the bikes, and the front tire temperatures are going through the roof, as I know you guys have spoken about before in the show. And that's the big problem. Like, Michelin cannot keep up, because the factories, you have 5 of them, they're all developing at such a fast rate that Michelin are just struggling to keep up. So, yeah, they've put this limit in place for safety, and obviously the riders are kicking off about it, saying that it's not safe if we crash, which they're right. I have a theory that I think the reason that Bagnaia started to struggle with the front end of his bike was because the tyre pressure rule was brought into place. So Ducati had to up it a little bit, and that took away his strength. But I could be wrong. Yeah, that's just a theory of mine. It's my own opinion, nobody else's. I've not actually spoke to anyone about that. So, but yeah, for next year, if they're talking about disqualifications for one infringement, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about that, because let's say, for example, a hot April day or May day in Jerez, for example, where temperatures can get up to 35 degrees, and then you've got half of them being disqualified. I think the teams will make the tire pressures a lot higher just to make sure they don't go below the limit. So there could be a lot of risk of crashing there. So yeah, it's a tough one. It really is. It'll be interesting to see if they change the rule to maybe say, like, okay, first infringement 6 seconds, second 12, whatever. But yeah, if it's disqualification and the teams and the riders are pushing it to the limit, they can't go on. Like, I think the best thing would be to, like, maybe make the limit a little bit lower, but then the riders and teams will come down to that, and it'll just be the same thing. So yeah, I'm not a tire expert or anything, or an aero expert, but yeah, it's I know someone I work closely with, Jack Gorst, who's a brilliantly technically minded, who's, a lot of people know his dad is Adrian Gorst, who took Colin Edwards to his 2 World Superbike titles, and Chianari to his 3 BSB ones, and Rossi and Edwards to the Suzuki A-Tower win in 2001. He's brilliant with all this stuff and can sort of tell you, he tells me a lot, and I just forget a lot, which is not a good thing. So, yeah, he'd be the best person to speak to, so maybe you should get him on the show about that question. So he'd be very good at talking to you about it. Yeah, Michelin tyres, hopefully 2025 would hurry up. And it'd be nice if they would bring the tyre mid to 24, but I just don't see that happening. I think Michelin are going to make sure the tyre is completely right for the riders, for them to use without it failing. But then you've got, by 25, another 2 years or another year and a bit of development, which means that the aero
could still be behind.
Yeah, especially now with so much ground effect coming in for all manufacturers. Like KTM were testing it to high heaven with Jack Miller, and then you have Aprilia, not with aero but with the carbon chassis, which they don't expect to race next year, but they expect to race in 25. And then what aero are they going to bring that's going to be useful for the carbon chassis? So it's going to move on so fast. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
If anyone had just tuned in now, you'd think we're talking about Formula One, wouldn't you? The way we're talking now, wouldn't you?
It's all we spoke about. It's all we spoke about after the Sepang race was the tyres more than the actual racing itself. But
yeah, it's. I remember watching that show and I was just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of aero and tyre stuff going on here. So, but yeah, I think that was the round where Pecco got his warning.
Yeah.
So when it got a little bit squeaky bum time basically for the championship contenders.
Yeah, and well, next year, although the tyres, it's all doom and gloom, concessions are coming in, which, you know, should make the racing closer in the long run, with the likes of Honda getting more testing time, getting more tyres to test with anyway, and on more circuits than the likes of Ducati. So I don't know if you've seen much on the concession. I'm guessing you have. So, you know, what's your initial thoughts? Although it's pretty limited information at the moment. All we know is just limited on how many tyres they're going to get. We don't know the nitty-gritty stuff.
Yeah, well, obviously Honda and Yamaha will get more tyres than Ducati and more than, KTM and Aprilia, which is a good thing, I think, to be honest. Like Dorna will want the closest championship possible, because the closest championship possible brings in more viewers, brings in more money, this, that, and the other, which also helps boost the series as a whole into this bigger and better thing. And yeah, so I think the concessions thing's a good idea. It helps bring Honda and Yamaha closer, just like the concessions did with Ducati, Suzuki, and Aprilia and KTM in the past. Now it's working the other way around. And I like this system. I think since it's more of a sort of a sliding scale, basically, it resets itself after 6 months. So Ducati could be last in the constructors, and then they're going to get everything that Honda and Yamaha have right now. If they've got like 35% of the points of, let's say, Honda, who could be leading it. Probably not so early, but eventually I'm sure they will. And the thing that I like the most about it is there's no engine freeze for Honda and Yamaha. So they can throw different specs of engine at the bike. Like, my least favourite thing of the technical regulations is, at the moment, an engine freeze. Because you can start the year off with an engine that, for example, this year with Yamaha is fast, but it's a bit too aggressive. So they can't put the power down. Honda have struggled with their engine for, well, probably since the start of the 1000cc era, basically. Ever since it went to spec ECU with Betty Morelli, and Honda couldn't use their electronics anymore. So yeah, they've really been struggling since then. So this is good for the sport. And I, for one, I'm a big fan of it, to be honest. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
Yeah. Isn't it? Could it possibly be an extra layer of complication to have to explain to people like me who really want things as simple as possible?
I guess a little bit, but at the end of the day, if the product is good, then you're not going to care about how they got there, I think. So it's
potentially.
I see it the same way that I don't want to bring up Formula One, but Formula One with the, I know, how do I say that? But yeah, Formula One with what they do with the Constructors' Championship, like if you finish last, you get more wind tunnel time, but you obviously get less money, so it helps sort of close up the grid, even though Red Bull have just had the most dominant season of all time. But yeah, I think with MotoGP, it will be a very positive step.
Interesting. Well, I had a thought the other day, today in fact, when the new team was launched, and it was come across online as being, wow, yeah, this is an amazing for MotoGP, and an American team in MotoGP. The paddock already has an actual American team in it, although they've kind of disgraced themselves a little bit lately, but that's besides the point. But yes, anyway, generally speaking, is it just me being a little bit kind of paranoid about the direction in which MotoGP is wanting to aim itself towards? I'm thinking more towards an American F1 style audience.
Are you trying to say we're going to be racing in Vegas next year?
I mean, I'm sure if anyone could make a Vegas race popular and actually good, it would be Dorna, because they run multiple world championships and such. But yeah, there's I don't know, maybe it's just the famous pessimism of the British fans of always just thinking that someone's up to something and I don't like it. That kind of feel.
I think MotoGP, we spoke about it earlier, like Dorna are desperate to see an English person in MotoGP, an Asian rider. And I'm sure they're pretty desperate to see an American rider as well. So it wouldn't be a surprise if we maybe see Joe Roberts maybe on that bike in the next couple of seasons. If he has a few good seasons in Moto2, they definitely want an American back in MotoGP. So an American-based team is probably the idea that they're looking for there, to get an American rider through.
Yeah, so there's no actual question for that. It's just general thoughts. They want an American rider, and I think they're very desperate to get Jake Dixon into MotoGP as well, because I think he came pretty close this year. If it weren't for Marquez wanting to go to Gresini so bad, he probably would have got that seat. So I think they're looking to get, like I said, more worldwide
diversity.
diversity in the championship instead of all of these pesky Spanish and Italians we have at the moment.
Yeah, basically, Jay hit the nail on the head. Like what we were saying earlier on, that Dorna do really want to bring in talent from other nations because the motorcycle market is booming in Asia. I think India has the biggest motorcycle sales in the world of last year. And that, like, everyone over there rides motorcycles because it's the most convenient way to get around. And they're big fans of the sport. Like, for example, like Indonesia is just, they're crazy for bikes. Like, I don't know if you watched the season finale of the Asia Talent Cup on YouTube.
Yep.
And the final race, I don't know if you saw in the last lap, it had 95,000 watchers just for that last lap. And you look at it now and it's got over 1 million views. So it's a huge market over there, and Dorna know that, so obviously that's why we're going to more races over there. We're bringing these fans to the sport. We've set up these championships to bring the talent through, and eventually a few of them will make it all the way to MotoGP. Like, I think, for example, there's Furusato, the Japanese rider. There is Pratama, the Indonesian rider, who looks like an excellent talent. It's just won the Asia Talent Cup this year by dominating, basically. And as Jay said, like, Joe Roberts could be coming into MotoGP. I think with this new team, it's an even higher probability because he's the American rider that you would go to. Yeah. And he's a very marketable American rider as well. He's got a big charisma about him. He's got a big personality, and he's someone that MotoGP and Dorna have wanted in MotoGP for a while now. And I think going back to American racing, where he initially flourished, will help him after a few wilderness years in Italtrans, even though he did get a couple of podiums and a race win. But America is where the market is, and that's where everything is booming as well. Formula One were bought by Liberty Media, an American company. And look, you just have to watch a race at Kota. It's sold out, basically. I don't know how many fit in there, like 450,000 for a weekend, or I don't know if that was just race day. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just race day. Some people are in the stadium where they actually have Taylor Swift concerts and Ed Sheeran, so people hanging off the big tower as well, just trying to get a glimpse of Max Verstappen. So that's something that we want and we're pushing towards. And the appointment of Dan Rossamondo, who's come from NBA, 20 years in NBA, and in Spain, for example, basketball is the second biggest sport after football. It used to be motorsport, but basketball's huge over here now. I don't play myself. I'm a little too short for that. He's come over from the NBA, and we've already started to see a shift in the way we do things, which is actually a positive. And bringing this team on board, which is a NASCAR team, first and foremost, which got huge publicity last year when one of their drivers, to get into the qualifying for the final cup or something. NASCAR's the only motorsport I don't actually watch, so I don't really know too well.
I can help out there, I do.
Please tell me.
No, I don't. I'm not that dialed in on it, but I do like to go. It's probably one of the only car racing I do watch, which is a bit backwards, really, because I can't stand one.
I'm more of an IndyCar guy myself, to be honest. So the one NASCAR race I do actually tune in for is, I think it's the one at Bristol, where they go back to where NASCAR kind of started with the dirt race.
They did it on dirt this year, didn't they?
Yeah, so that's good fun to watch. Yeah. So I also think it was Bristol Speedway where this other thing happened with this team, where you had the driver ride on the barrier to overtake a car, and that was them. So they're a well-known team, and also Mr. Worldwide himself is part owner of the Trackhouse Racing, so Pitbull. So I mean, I think it's great. Get the American market on board, get more fans into the sport, just show why MotoGP is the best motorsport on the planet, because it is. I don't think there's any competition, to be honest. And from what we have seen this year, especially, I think since round about India, the racing has been incredible. The action has been manic. We've had a title decider, and it was one that you just didn't really know which way it was going to go until Jorge Martin punted into Marc Marquez. So, and then it was all over. But yeah, it's to get more fans to watch MotoGP is what we really want in Dorna, which what we really want in the social media team, because I just think having people know the sport is the best thing in the world. Like, I grew up in a small town where nobody knew about MotoGP, but only knew it through me. And it's kind of sad because everyone's watching football, wrestling, NFL as well, rugby, and it was only me that knew about it. The only time I ever saw MotoGP ever be something more, or actually trending on Twitter at the time, was when Romano Fenati grabbed Manzi's brake. I remember everyone in college talking about it on Monday, and I was like, that's cool, but you don't really want them to be talking about MotoGP for that reason. You want them to be talking about it because it's incredible. The racing, brilliant. It was down to the last corner, the last lap. The championship was decided on the last corner of the last lap. So, yeah, went off on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry about that.
I've got something to carry on that a bit with. So, like, in this country, like you said, if like I walked down the street and just grabbed a random person and said, do you know who Cal Crutchlow is? Good chance they're probably not going to know. In Spain, is bike racing as big as what we see it? So if you like went down the street and go, do you know who Pedro Acosta is? Do you know who Marc Marquez? Would they be like, oh yeah, I did watch the race at the weekend, it was really good? Or is it kind of the same in Spain? Because from what us Brits see outside, we think in Spain that MotoGP is massive, then everyone loves it. Is it like that?
Yeah, it is. When Marc Marquez won his world titles, when I was over doing what Lewis was doing this year, visiting Valencia to watch the finale, you go into a store the next day and it's not just Marc Marquez on the back page and the front page. It's basically the whole newspaper article is dedicated to Marc Marquez. So you walk down the street and there's people wearing helmets of Jorge Lorenzo, Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi on their bikes, people wearing merchandise. I see more merchandise for MotoGP than I do for Formula One, which is a really good thing. Most people know who, like Marc Marquez is, who Pecco Bagnaia is, which is good, because after Rossi, I think we were a little worried that it wasn't going to happen, but people do know who they are. And you walk into random bars and you've got MotoGP, just posters on the wall, the flags, something that might be signed. You've actually got in petrol stations.
I've noticed that. The Repsol stations, you do have cardboard cutouts of Marquez as you go in and that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
which is now going to have to, which is all going to have to be chucked away now, obviously.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, there goes the money there in the bin. But yeah, also like you walk past some garages and you've got like Alex Marquez standing there promoting something. You didn't even realize it was a sponsor. I saw once back in 2017 on this massive board at McDonald's, and it was Maverick Vinales standing there with a McDonald's promoting a McDonald's. So that was wild to me. So yeah, they're big celebrities over here, and people know MotoGP. And one thing actually is there's a small restaurant next to Dorna, and I walked in one day quite recently, and they have Isle of Man TT, like signet on the wall. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then I forgot there's a bike store below my flat, and you walk past that and it's got like TT stuff and MotoGP stuff in it as well. So yeah, it's huge over here, and you could stop random people and they would know who even Ralph Fernandez is, or even Somkiat Chantra. So, and
I hear there's even talk about a statue for Kiko Giles as well in some parts of Spain. So.
I mean, he's actually carving out himself right now, to be honest. So.
Probably.
Yeah, Kiko we trust.
Yeah, Kiko. Go on.
It was good though. All the races were on mainstream TV for the last round of Valencia. They were all on ITV1, which makes a massive change. Even the Moto3 and Moto2 were on there, so that was really good to see. It probably won't happen again for a very long time. But
well, they did pull out of the British Grand Prix, so that kind of pissed a lot of people off, because I think when they found out that it was going to be on ITV, I think everyone's first thought was, yeah, you say that now, but I'm not going to change my entire weekend just to have it bumped off the TV again. So
I think football was on.
I did carry on watching it on TNT though, because I was a bit worried with ITV that they might chuck some adverts in the middle of the race.
Exactly. So
I did stick with the TNT. So I thought, maybe should I watch it on ITV so it gets the numbers up and they might think, oh, it's doing well here, we'll keep doing this. But no, I did stick with the TNT coverage instead.
You should have had ITV on the TV and then TNT on your laptop. I'll push those numbers up.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
that was a good thing.
I think that is the biggest thing. It needs to go back to normal telly. I think if it did go back to normal telly, it would really help the British views. Like even when it just used to be the MotoGP races, I would get people, like when you went into work the next day, go, oh, I did watch the bike race and it was really good. So it definitely does help. But you have to, it's an expense that people are not going to paying out for TNT to find out if they enjoy it or not.
Yeah, I would love it to go back to terrestrial TV, but I think the future is probably streaming services, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be going now, and to be fair, everything is becoming a streaming service. Like, for example, there's going to be adverts on Instagram pretty soon. Well, I think they've even started. They've just not come onto my account yet, but yeah, that'll happen very soon. So you're going to start paying for Instagram, so you don't have to watch the adverts, and same as YouTube, you pay for YouTube if you want to watch the adverts. So yeah, everything's going to go that way.
It's helping me get paid more.
I wish.
Well, yeah, that's, I suppose, another interesting aspect of things, really, is like the way that people consume things now. And at the moment in this country, in the UK, there is I only know this because I took advantage of it. If you're an EE customer, you can get, or they gave you, I don't know if they're still doing it, but when I joined it, they were doing it. You could get basically free Discovery Plus, which includes MotoGP and World Superbikes and BSB as well. So I currently have a data plan, which we're streaming this on right now, and effectively getting free TNT, Discovery Plus, for free. I don't know how long that'll last. I'm guessing not very long. It's probably just a launch offer, but I'm enjoying it at the moment while it lasts. So, hopefully.
And with the merge, you also get to watch BSB and World Superbike on it.
Yeah.
But with the question actually to all three of you is really, if, for example, it was put on ITV, they did a deal, but it was just going to be qualifying in the races and maybe a few adverts chucked in if they have to mid-session, if something overruns. Would you cancel your sports subscription where you get to watch all the practices, or would you rather keep the sports subscription and watch all the sessions live with no adverts?
I am one of the really sad buggers that does sit and watch like FP1, FP2 and all of the qualifyings. But if ITV says, we're just going to take it on next season, but we're only going to go and show qualifying, the sprint race and the main race. As long as they had Moto 2 and Moto 3 on as well, I'd probably cancel it and save my whatever, like £35 a month I'm paying for. I don't know, because
if they committed to it.
No, because Chelsea are not in the Champions League at the moment.
Piss off, Chelsea.
Football. At the moment, I'd cancel it because my football team's crap. So, I'd get rid. If ITV or BBC came on board.
I don't. Forget the BBC. They're never going to be. No. But I reckon, just going back to what I said earlier, if they actually committed for a full season and said, look, this is exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be from round 1 to the final round, and you can find it. It might not be the same level of coverage as TNT, and like you say, Lewis, there might be a few extra adverts in there. But if it's a consistent package being offered, I think people would start to look towards ITV or whomever and do the switch. I think this strategy of them just doing a one-off race here and they're...
It's not very well advertised either.
I didn't even know it was happening until someone posted about it. Because then, I mean, and I was disappointed about the British Grand Prix not happening, not because I was going to be watching it, but because I thought it might have just helped get a few more fans on board and into MotoGP with their first experience of it. But since they seem to not give a crap for that weekend, I forgot what else was on at the week that particular.
I think it was Women's World Cup football or something like that. Don't know. I think it was some sort of football.
Yeah, it was not MotoGP basically. So in that way, it was rubbish. So I think if they continue this strategy of just trying to select, of them trying to be a bit clever and think, right, what? Obviously, we're going to try and do the British Grand Prix. That's the number one thing for our British fans. Tarantula fighting world champion is in the world finals this year, so we're going to have to drop all of MotoGP. Yeah, forget it. ITV need to come out, or whoever, maybe Channel 4 or whatever, whoever the broadcaster of choice is that Dorna favour, they have to come out and say, look, we're going to commit to doing all of these races at a sensible time, live where possible. Then I think, yes, then people will start. But I think there's nowhere... They're just wasting their money at the moment, just picking and doing single rounds. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it needs to be something consistent, definitely. So, I think ITV still do British touring cars, don't they? So they haven't put a Motorsport on there, but that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they do touring cars. They've got Kiko highlights. Giles as well, highlights of World Superbikes and the
season review.
They've got the season review as well, which was.
I'm guessing that's out yet. Is that out yet? The season review?
Is it out yet? Have you not seen it? I
was speaking to him about that recently. I think he was.
Did he say? Have you watched it yet, Doug? Have you seen it? Have you seen me on it?
Yeah, he's always reminding me. He's like, "Do you want to come see it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll watch it. I watch it every year." Tell us on YouTube, so don't worry. So he was telling me that I think it's on like 1:00 in the morning on like Christmas Day or Christmas or Boxing Day or something. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's not a fantastic time. That's the graveyard shift. That one.
I don't know. It depends how much you like bikes. I mean, I'm probably sure Lewis will be watching it.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing, if I'm awake at that time, I've already watched it on worldsuperbike.com because it was put on for free there.
But generally speaking, I think we get a little bit complacent as British TV viewers, because when you look at what is on TV for free or paid or otherwise or whatever, we've never had it so good, really, in terms of what is available, what motorsport, particularly motorcycle sport, is available. We've got BSB, World Superbikes, or European Superbikes. We've got MotoGP as well. Junior GP, ETC. That's all on TV. A lot of it for free.
Yeah.
And some other stuff I'm forgetting as well. Oh yeah, Fab Racing as well.
Most importantly.
Where you can literally see the grassroots of basically, if you want a tip as to who's going to be in the next generation of like the MLav team in a few years' time, check out Fab Racing here on Motorsport Radio. Just saying. But yeah, generally speaking, we've never had it so good as TV viewers in this country, I think.
Well, yeah, everything's at your fingertips, basically. Yeah. So, yeah, and just to plug some more Junior GP, you can actually catch that on YouTube as well for free. So,
and on that as well.
YouTube channel.
Any particular round that we might want to watch?
Anything that I'm commentating on, avoid.
Right.
Jerez was a wild one. You just got me and Jack Gorse screaming basically the whole day. So the racing was so wild.
Check that out then.
Yeah, good fun though. Yeah, the racing. If you want, you can mute us. Just watch the racing. It's always good fun.
But yeah, generally speaking, there's pretty much something on every single weekend. And you young people, I don't think you appreciate just how hard us old people had to struggle and find and search for not just motorsport live coverage, because there was only just Formula One on and maybe MotoGP on BBC Two back in the day, and that was it. Maybe BSB on Sky, but I never had Sky when I was a kid anyway, so I was all so whatever.
BSB, I think it was Eurosport. I think it used to be on.
Eurosport, and then
Sky.
It still
is on Eurosport now.
It was. Yeah. I remember it being on ITV with Barry Dudley, then Sky with Ewan, and then Eurosport with Jack Barnacle.
Yeah, but back then there really wasn't. That was pretty much your lot, really, apart from a few highlight shows, midweek on a Thursday morning or something like that. But we've never had it so good, really. So I don't think young people, bloody young people, appreciate it as much as maybe they could do. But anyway, whatever. I'm just going off on one. Just shut up, Lester. Anyway, what was we talking about? We were talking about actual racing.
We need to talk about. We haven't spoke about Tommy Bridewell. We need to speak about that next.
Yeah, okay, let's do that then. Tommy Bridewell off to Honda, which we knew anyway. Big question is, him team aside, Glenn Irwin and PBM. Now, some people suggested that maybe Rory Skinner, in fact, it was Glenn Irwin who suggested
Glenn Irwin suggested that,
I'm guessing maybe he did a little cheeky comment. If you've not seen it, this was on, I think he posted it on Insta or something. When Rory Skinner was saying, final weekend with the team in Moto 2 and stuff, and he put underneath in the comments, it'd be good to have you as a teammate. And then everyone was like, could he? Really? Been done before, I think. Well, I mean, Scott Redding. He could be a super Scott Redding, and drift back into BSB and wipe the floor with everyone. That's possible, is it? I don't know. What do you reckon, Lewis?
I mean, I'm saying that from a Scottish perspective. But, we've seen how quick he was in his first year in BSB, for example. Straight away, he was on the pace. Sadly, whenever he went off to Moto 2, he didn't get that first race win in BSB. He was so close. Certainly at Knockhill, obviously. But, I think it's going to be one of those feel-good stories again, even if he does end up back in BSB, which I don't really want to see him in. But if he's in a top team there and in a bike that he can fight for a championship, it's going to be good if, he can get to that top step once again, because we've seen after he won the first year of the British Talent Cup, he was left with really nowhere to go, and he ended up in a privately run team by his family in British Supersport, and he's just slowly worked his way through the ranks. So it's been great to see his progression. Had that year in Moto 2, sadly not getting the second year, and if he ended up in BSB, it's only going to be a positive thing for BSB itself. It's going to be another one of those championship contenders, and certainly his year in Grand Prix, it's put him on the map. I know it was a household name to all BSB fans whenever you went on Facebook, seen how he's done on social media. So, I think if he did sign for PBM, he's certainly going to get that first win within the first couple of rounds. I mean, he's incredibly talented, but from my own standpoint, I would still prefer to see him elsewhere. I was lucky enough to be in the paddock at MotoGP on the Friday, and John Hopkins came flying past on a scooter. I stopped John, and
is that Lewis Ray? Hi, Lewis Ray.
Exactly. I haggled him at Knockhill earlier on in the year during one of the Scottish rounds, but asked him what the hell was going on. He said that they're still trying for a European Moto2 ride in Junior GP or even World Supersport. He's wanting to keep down the world route, but wherever he can, wherever there's going to be a competitive ride available, we've seen with Tara McKenzie and John McPhee, it's been a tough year.
We've got to talk about John. He's got a ride now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a ride as well. We've seen how tough it can be. BBM wouldn't be the worst solution in the world, but I would still prefer to see him in World.
Fair enough. Jay, your thoughts on BSB, PBM, potential rumour of Rory Skinner talking to the team? That was just basically Glenn Irwin's comment that sparked all that off.
He could just be winding everyone up.
Well, maybe he's not. That's the thing.
I'm kind of the same with Lewis here. I think it'd be really good if Rory can get in a Moto 2 team in the European Championship, because you're staying in that kind of genre of racing then, and also you're in the you see a lot of the European Moto2 riders, if someone gets injured in Grand Prix, then you might be lucky enough to get a ride to stand in for an injured rider. So I think if he can get a European Moto2 ride, that would be mega. I know it's a down step, but at least you're keeping your eye in, shall we say. So I think that would be his best option for him. Also World Supersport, but in World Supersport, if you're not on the best bike out there, then you're kind of nowhere really. So I think European Moto2 ride would probably be the best option for him. But if he has got to come back to BSB, the PBM ride is not a bad ride to be on, is it? So hopefully he's going to have a few options, but European Talent Cup 100% for Rory, I think.
And Liam, what do you reckon?
I've got to disagree with... No, I'm joking. I was actually going to with Jay and Lewis, to be honest. I would prefer Rory to be in European Moto2, just because there have been some... I wouldn't say careers failing, but maybe just hit a stagnant point in recent years. Alonso Lopez, I know that's Jay's biggest
you really friend, show, don't you?
I did reach out to him incidentally to come on the show again, and he ignored me.
Lopez, I know that. I was trying to get his autograph from him for you, Jay, but unfortunately. He said he wants you to go meet him in person.
Up on my autograph I've got up here of Fabio and Top Rack, I'd have put that right up there.
Perfect Christmas present for you. We've seen his career that stagnated for a while. He went to European Moto2 and then was a revelation last year after he came in for round 5 or 6. I think it was 6 he came in for. And at one point of the year, he led the most laps of anyone in the championship after Misano, and went on to almost finish as Rookie of the Year. Just got beaten by Pedro Acosta at the final hurdle. Fermin Aldeguer was his teammate that year in European Moto2, won it convincingly. I think he only lost one race, and that was to Alonso Lopez when he finished second. Lucas Tulovic, he had a career that really went nowhere in Moto2 for a couple of years, then went to European Moto2, won that last year. Senna Aegis was doing nothing in Moto3 or CEV Moto3 at the time. Went to Moto2 last year. He was another revelation and destroyed everyone this year, basically. Was apart from actually breaking his arm at one point in practice during the Catalan round. He was once again untouchable, apart from the round that Carlos Tatai won in Jerez. So I think European Moto2 would be his best option to keep himself in the sort of stratosphere of these teams, where he could find himself back in the World Championship of Moto2 again, and considering the fact that they're going to Pirellis as well. Yeah. Now, I thought the Pirelli tyre knowledge would help him, probably will, but I was asking Manu Gonzalez about this ahead of the Valencia GP weekend, when I had him on the MotoGP Fantasy, because I thought it'd be really good to know if going back to Pirellis for him after being on a year in Dunlops was a big help, and he thought that he could use that as an advantage. And he said no, not a chance, because he spent that year or 2 years on the Dunlops. He became so used to them going back, it was basically started from scratch again. But then again, Rory had only spent 1 year in the Dunlops, so going back to Pirellis could play to an advantage. And I would like to see Rory in European Moto2, just to still stay within everyone's eyesight in the GP paddock. That being said, PBM Ducati, the most glorious team in BSB history, basically, the most decorated, would be brilliant, and seeing him go for the BSB title would also be great, because I can imagine if he does win that, then there could be a plum ride in World Superbikes beckoning for him in the near future.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe the worst thing he can probably do is just have a year on the sidelines, perhaps.
Yeah.
So,
we know that will happen.
I don't know when. I don't know when the PBM announcement is due to be announced. If it is,
there's a lot of paperwork to sign at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of people saying a lot of things about a lot of possibilities and scenarios, and I think we just all have to just give them time to sort out what they need to sort out legally. And Glenn Irwin's pretty much said anyway, yeah, he's been offered a ride.
Sticking with it.
He'd like to stick with them. He's not. Well, he told us, didn't he, at the NEC? There was that he's not really considering any other team. He wants to stay with them, and they want him to stay with them. And that's that. So, who the other person might be, well, that remains a question mark at the moment. They could even have a new sponsor, potentially. We bumped into someone who was a returning sponsor at the NEC, who was looking to dip his toe back into British Superbike sponsorship. He had not planned on saying this, but I will anyway.
Yeah, I was surprised. Come on.
Okay, so a couple of... I'm just trying to... Because if I say who it is, nobody will know apart from me, Liam and Lewis and Jay.
Is it the Cool Milk guy?
Yes, the Cool Milk guy.
Oh my God, the best tasting milk ever.
So, we bumped into the guy that runs Cool Milk Enterprises.
What else did he run as well? Some big banner house or something like that.
He also had the gin and the beef. Massingbird Monday. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Massingbird Monday. And Massingbird Monday in 2020 was planning on sponsoring all of the Kawasaki Academy riders, probably
and then COVID happened.
Then COVID happened. Because of that, he had to withdraw all of his interests and sponsorship, leaving a lot of riders in an unfortunate position, and a lot of teams in an unfortunate position, and Fab Racing as well, unfortunately. However, we bumped into him at the NEC and basically just said, what fancy seeing you here. Surprised they let you in. But no, he is back, and he's looking for a BSB team to sponsor. Those were his words to us. And
he's not coming back to Fab then?
I never said anything about that.
You missed you.
Phone calls can be made.
Sticking with BSB though.
I really miss that milk. That's the reason I haven't won since then, because there's no milk on the podium.
I thought it was because of me. No.
Oh yeah, and you, Liam, and you. You not being there for commentary. I mean, Lewis, he ain't doing it for me. He's downhill.
I had faith. I had faith for you in the final round.
Back.
Anyway, so he expressed an interest to get back involved in sponsorship in some way, and we know that PBM were struggling for sponsors last year. That's me just saying that. I don't know if they actually were, but I mean, what the hell is Beer Monster?
I think it was a Paul Bird company.
Okay, well, no one had heard of it. I don't know what that was.
No, if I Googled Beer Monster and nothing comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no website or anything. It's a bit like Leopard, the energy drink. It doesn't exist.
Well, let's move away from slanderous comments for a second.
It's just the truth. Have you ever seen a can of Leopard energy drink?
I actually have.
You have? What? In the shops?
Yeah.
I've had a can of Rich Energy.
Rich Energy.
And it did taste specifically like... Well, I later found out that Rich Energy is actually bottled in the same place that they bottle it's all bottled by a third-party company.
There's definitely no Leopard in England, because if you go to B&M and they sell every energy drink under the sun, from the cheapest to the most expensive, and I've never seen a can of Leopard in there.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, kids.
It's a thing.
I think I saw a can over here in some random shop I was in. And I was like,
what I'm trying to say is that the Massingbird Monday brand, or Cool Milk, or whatever brand he wants to call himself, I'm saying that basically if PBM are looking for a
title sponsor, a daring
partner, then
tag Racing are, because they put a post up today with a picture of their bike saying where your sponsor could go.
I did find that surprising after they'd announced their riders. I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Normally it's the other way around, but whatever. Good luck to him. So yeah, keep your eyes open anyway, I'll say in BSB. That could have just been me putting 2 and 2 together. But anyway, we are short on time. Staying with BSB, in particular, the National Superstock Championship as well. Yeah, small matter of that. We did touch upon it earlier in the show. So, I think the last show we did, a couple of weeks ago, the last live show we did, or one of the last times anyway, we kept an eye on this investigation as much as we could after it was launched. I had suggested potentially that it might have just been a case of sour grapes by the team that is in the same town, coincidentally, as Lewis is. So it's literally his home team.
Have you been out partying with them this weekend, Lewis?
No, but the party, I think they're having a party on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, are you invited?
No, sadly not.
No, because they probably heard what we said about them. But anyway, I might have suggested that it was just a case of sour grapes and that everything would stay the same. I have to hold my hands up and say I was wrong.
And you're never wrong, Lester.
And for that, I do apologise. And that's Motorsport Radio first here on the Superbike. So
being wrong or apologising?
Both. It never happens. But just in case, because I did say that it might have just been a case of sour grapes, and it wasn't, as it turned out. They actually had some merit in their what they contested, and it was
a brake bolt being too big or something like that one. It was the bolt on the master cylinder.
There was lots of issues surrounding that specifically, and which probably gave it a bit more merit in that the organisational side of the procedural way that complaints were handled gave it more merit than if it was just to look at a part on a bike which wasn't the stock part. Then that might have just been potentially dismissed any other time of the weekend or given a minor fine or something. But because of the way it was handled, which did cause a lot more concern, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm pretty sure that everyone does the best job they can do at BSB. That probably gave it a bit more merit, the complaint. So, yeah. But anyway, even if you don't have a stock part and it didn't really give any performance part other than the fact it might have saved a bit of money. I don't know. I've never purchased it. I have no idea how much these things cost. But someone suggested that maybe it cost less than what the actual approved stock part would have cost.
I think the team argued it made no performance or wasn't enhancing in any sort of way, and they argued it was exactly the same size part as a stock part.
But
it was
obviously.
But why even allow themselves to be found out in that situation and scenario? Because even if it was done for costs, to keep the cost down, that in and of itself is an advantage because you're saving a little bit of money on these little parts, potentially, if that's why it was done. Then that means you can spend your money elsewhere on other things, and that is technically an advantage.
The performance-wise, it was, I believe, it was the master cylinder anyway, the front master cylinder on the bike. And it was a Brembo part. The bike comes with a Brembo master cylinder as well as stock. And they claim, and they have they claimed on their social media account as well that they had a document from Brembo or a statement from Brembo with them confirming that there's no advantage using the part either. And the only difference is, which is the only reason why they were caught really, was that there was a 6mm bolt hole in the top of the master cylinder that isn't there normally on the part that should have been on the bike. So that was one reason why it was found out, and they claimed there was no performance advantage. And as well, I believe the bike was left the technical officers before it was actually checked, but as we say, everyone's human, so everyone can make mistakes. I don't think it'll ever be repeated as well. But the team as well was asked to present the part at Donington Park a couple of weeks after the event, but it was a different master cylinder that was on the bike at that time, which really adds to suspicion and speculation on social media, it seems.
And why? And why, as a team, allow yourself to even be caught out in that scenario anyway?
Yeah, exactly. It puts him in bad light anyway. Dan Linfoot's not made a statement yet, but on the other hand, it's great to see AMD win the championship. But then on the other hand of that, it's a shame that it all got decided almost 2 months after the race had finished and not at the circuit. So,
yeah, that's, I think, the biggest negative takeaway, really, in that the whole scenario,
almost a lose-lose.
Yeah, nobody really comes out of any of that. But still, procedures have to be followed. It's not necessarily anybody's fault that it happened at the end of the season. The protest could have come in the middle of the season and we could have had a bit more of a fairer fight. But yeah, still nothing from Dan Linfoot. I think it's
probably best to keep quiet at this point, isn't it?
With the whole no performance advantage gain, my point on that is, like we spoke about earlier with, for example, tyre pressures in MotoGP, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. I mean, if you have a different master cylinder that has a different part number, but it gives them advantage, that's not the point of the rules. The point of the rules is that part's meant to be standard, whether it makes a difference or not. So, yeah, that's just creating a massive can of worms for later seasons. So it really had to be a penalty.
Yeah, and, to my mind as well, I think, and I was racking my brain, and I could not think of any other championship in motorsport that had the champion changed about 2 months after it was awarded.
No, definitely not.
I think the closest I could find was Michael Schumacher got disqualified from Formula One in 1997 from the entire championship. But that he was never actually the champion in 97 anyway. So
no.
I can't quite remember if everyone and the award was given to a champion and then it was later taken away because of a decision in the courts. I can't think of any other championship. Maybe I'm limited knowledge, admittedly, but maybe there has been other motorsport things somewhere else. Let me know.
Happened in some Italian sports car championship.
Well, yeah, probably. Not even in Fab Racing has that ever happened. And, well, there's been talk about that, let me tell you, over the season. But, yeah, no, I think to have that happen, to my mind, for the first time that I can remember, huge shame for everyone involved. But if it just means tighter, better processes next season for everyone, then that would make things a lot reassuring for all its competitors. Yeah. Choosing my words very carefully. Yeah. So anyway, Liam, any thoughts on BSB overall this season? You probably didn't manage to watch much of it, other than the round at Knockhill where I did see you at, although you probably don't even remember because you were so merry.
I was having such good time being a fan and cheering on the racers.
Yeah, I think Lewis found you on the floor somewhere.
Yeah, that's after I had a crash. So, yeah, weird that I could have a crash and I'm not racing.
Yeah.
The BSB season was, as you said, I didn't manage to catch all of it. I do subscribe to Eurosport's Player, which is still working, thankfully, for now. And yeah, whenever I could, I would watch it or try and catch up on it. But it was, the last two rounds were just madness, brilliant. Just what you want to get your money's worth from racing. Donington was, you could predict what was going to happen. And then on Brands Hatch Sunday, I watched Brands Hatch Saturday after I got back from the office because we were doing Indonesia that weekend, and watched the race. It was brilliant. And then we actually went to Kiko's for a watch party of the final race of the year.
Shambles.
And it was a bit of nachos, some nice coffee.
Did you make your shepherd's pie?
No, actually.
He loves the shepherd's pie, doesn't he?
No, maybe he did. There was one time we made tacos, but yeah, it wasn't that time. However, yeah, it was brilliant. What a season. We've actually been treated for really good seasons of racing. And even though Bautista romped to the World SBK title, the racing was still brilliant, especially from the last race.
That last race in World Superbikes was unbelievable. I think it was 32 passes between both.
38.
38, yeah.
38.
Insane.
Like, I was watching that with the World SBK guys at the office, and you know what Kiko's like when he gets excited. It was screaming everywhere. It was great fun. Yeah. It's probably the best race that I can remember for such a long time. If you take out the penalty at the end. So, yeah.
All right.
Bring all of it on.
Exactly, yeah. 24 is literally days away now. Shit.
Only by Christmas presents.
Don't. So anyway,
what you brought me, Lester?
The gift of media.
We're going to India next year because you found out the tickets were so cheap, aren't we?
Liam's going to sort us out a good deal. Yeah, I'll source at dawn.
Just bring me back something nice, maybe a nice shirt or something. Then I'll sort.
Well, he's getting me an Alonso Lopez signed picture. I can't wait.
I will get you Alonso Lopez
through the post.
Yeah, he'll do one better. He'll actually bring you Alonso Lopez.
Yeah, he'll come and punch you in the face.
Yeah, we don't want him on the show. Don't worry.
Yeah,
you don't have to message
we
him
do want you on the show, Alonso. Hey, come and join us on the show. Yeah. You don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, so just finally, we have already run out of time. Lewis, highlight of the entire year for you. Pick one. Go.
In MotoGP?
Anywhere.
I've got to think now.
The final race of BSB. Actually, I'm going to go with BSB this year.
Oh, yeah.
It was something special. Best final year we've had in a long time. But MotoGP overall, I've probably still followed it the most this year. But yeah, BSB final race.
Jay, best moments of the entire year in any category.
I'm going to go really patriotic, and I'm going to say Taron McKenzie's in World Supersport on the absolute dog of a bike, the shittest bike in the paddock. And he managed to go win at Mosque. And you could just see the emotion on his face. You could tell he'd had a really rough time, always kept a smile on his face. But it was, even though it was dodgy conditions, to see him win that race was really good. So, yeah, I'm going to say Taron McKenzie's win at Mosque.
Okay, and Liam, final question, same question for you. Best moment of the entire year for you, what was it? Where were you? And, tell us what it was.
Yeah, I think I've already mentioned this moment at the start of the show, but it's got to be Fabio Di Giannantonio winning in Qatar, and him in the cool-down room with Pecco later on when he saw Pecco T-boning him, and he just goes, "Mamma mia, what the fuck are you doing?" So, yeah, that was I loved that moment. It was, yeah, you don't get a lot of feel-good moments on the height of that one, so that was my moment of the year.
Perfect. And there's I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say there was 3 best moments of the year, but all in BSB though, all in the BSB paddock. The final day of BSB, just with all the recent history, losing Paul Bird and the emotion surrounding that, and with Glenn missing out by just half a point, which was heartbreaking because he's such a nice guy, and then to have Tommy win it, and then with all the recent argy-bargy between them both, and it was just so I think a lot of us were close to passing out through screaming our heads off on that day, I think, especially. So that would be one highlight. Also, the final round of the RNG British Talent Cup at Donington a few weeks earlier, when Ronnie Harris took his first podium, I believe, and not only his first podium, but his first win on the top step. And the following day, it was, I think I might be getting this the wrong way around, but anyway, the other race, Philip Soroviak as well.
No, Philip did it on the first day. Ronnie did it on the second day.
It's all a blur, to be honest. But anyway, Philip Soroviak got his first podium on the same weekend that the champions were battling it out to win, so it wasn't even over by that point. So Philip Soroviak somehow come through the rain and the mixed conditions to get his first podium and to stand on that top step of the podium was such an amazing, because the Soroviak family is just a delight to know and be around, and definitely Dom Soroviak, Philip's dad, was by far the happiest person that you'd ever seen. He was crying his eyes out, and he was happier than Philip, I think. So yeah, and also to see Ronnie Harris, he might even be the title contender in the British Talent Cup next year, to win his first race. Who was probably as shocked as anyone, really, but he did. I
think he's still got the winning hat on now.
He's not took it off yet. No,
I don't think he's taken it off.
But those were my, I suppose, best moments. And since top three, and they all came at the end of the season, which is just a coincidence, only because I do have a bad memory, and I probably can't remember what happened at the start of the season. But there you go. Anyway, so thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, Liam. Thank you. It's been a huge pleasure to have you back on the show. Jay, thank you very much to have you back as well, and to Lewis as well. And well, who knows what's going to happen in 2024? Ooh, all eyes on the big news. But stay tuned in to Motorsport Radio, motorsport.radio, where you can still enjoy live coverage of all the big championships, including IndyCar, BSB, and Fab Racing in 2024, plus maybe a few other big championships. And well, yeah, check out the website for more information. Lewis Ray all over it. Thank you. It's been a great season, and yeah, good night. Bye.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.